let's do that for now. I'll bring him back so that that's all right. So I expect chase down a handful of issues now. We're probably gonna run into like script analyzer type scenarios. We'll probably hit maybe a missing Pester test or two. Possibly some help that's not defined. And I'll remediate those, get this pull request out there, and then I can go just general bug hunting if you want to go down that path. Oh, there's an error. Oh, there's a whole bunch of flew by. You know, let's just stop right here and show PSGraph. Oh, because you know what? I made this change. What's this guy down here doing? Nothing. Let's revert that. See if that fixes my help issue. And I think I saw something else fly by up here. Okay. So this is telling me that I'm missing a whole bunch of Pester tests. I don't think I'm actually missing them. I think I just have my project structured differently. And I'm gonna have to like restructure it to account for this. Which I like it better the new way. So I thought I saw something way up here as well. Description or synopsis. We can fix this right now, actually. Actually, I think that fixed it. We'll let this guy run and see if it did or not. So we'll build Pester. Let's try these again. Actually, take it back. Let's do the full build. And then I'll actually work through my Pester tests themselves, I guess. We'll see what else fails. What was that one? All right. So one thing I like doing is like I have Pester tests for everything. I have Pester tests tell me if I have Pester test or not. The structure change that this is actually complaining about. In fact, I'm gonna get rid of those again, didn't I? Is that I used to, when I started this project, did a lot more of this like unit test versus regression test type projects. And so here's all my bug issues, right? Whenever I have a bug, I'd drop in this unit tests. I'd have like all my stuff was kind of collected here. Over time, I've actually shifted my structure a bit more so that I do a test per public function, a file per public function. And I've got checks for that now. So what was our final results here? 9 Pester tests. I think it was all about that, just that one section there. Absolutely. So what I think I need to do is take this file, my unit test file, and slice it up to fit this pattern that these new build scripts are wanting to support. So missing test for edge. Let's go ahead and create that. Edge.test.one, because this is a command in this function. And describe snippet, just to give me a placeholder in there. Ooh, if you're not using snippets for stuff like this, I highly recommend it. I have a describe, and I also have a function snippet that between those two. Actually, those are my only two, but I use them all the time. So what I want to do now is for my unit tests, I've got a context graph, subgraph, node, edge. See, I've already got it grouped here. So all I gotta do is grab this chunk. I take that back. Let's just grab the whole context and drop it into, and I'm gonna call this context now unit tests. Unit tests. I might clean that up a bit more later, but ooh, you know what? Also changed. I think those guys should all be up. See them. Looks good. Okay. So that was my edge. Entity. Test one. All right. Subscribe. Actually, I need all that. And for my unit tests, let's take. Ooh, do I not have any? All right, entity tests. Feature maybe? Node, edge, rank, graph, subgraph, indentations. No. I am just going to delete that for now, and I'll come back and actually make him more properly. I'm surprised I have no entity tests. And while I was in this feature file, I noticed an edge. Let me cut this out of here, go to my edge test. This guy is feature. Let's run this real quick, make sure it runs. Yeah, looks good. So, I mean, I'm doing all my unit tests, right? These commands should throw errors. Various attributes, properties should show up, and features I added later, I think. Multiple edges at once or cross multiply. So, yeah, I like that. Okay, so I think this edge file is probably actually done. I'll go close him for now. Let's see here. Actually, let me start by just going through the unit test and converting all these guys to tests over here instead of looking at my actual output. So I have no graph file. Let's do graph dot this one. And then for my unit, take graph file, prime, let's go unit. Capitalize all those. Okay. So that one, subgraph. Subgraph, probably not. Subgraph dot one. Next. Subgraph. Ooh, I'm missing a tag on this as well. Tag build, just a build time. Set of tests. I use this to basically identify stuff I actually want to happen at build time versus not, I guess. Node. Let's do a node file. Oh, Pester, this has to be a capital T. If you ever miss that, it won't actually find the test, or at least it didn't used to. Scrap. Unit tests. Build. Excellent. Okay, feature. All right, unit tests, rank. Next section, that actually removes this whole file, then doesn't it? Rank dot swap. Unit test. Build. Okay, so unit tests can now. Ooh. I suppose I ought to pay attention to these here. Since I have this in this file here, I might be using that in those tests. Maybe. There. Guess I'll find out. I was going to delete this, but let me just drop this tag for now. And does this guy work? Good. Does this guy work? Node. Okay, they're looking pretty good. So let's slice up this feature test file now. I'm going to cut Node out of the feature test and place him bottom half of this guy. Let's call this guy feature test. Feature. I need to say tests. Features. Unit. Tests. Call it feature. Rank is the next one. God, naming stuff is hard. Like I always go back and forth on how things should be named or labeled. Like the intuitiveness of things is very important to me. At least I suppose I spend a lot of time chasing intuitiveness. Graph. Subgraph. Here. Features. Oh, I don't need those anymore. I'll come back and clean this up later. Oh, I need to do the newer tests as well. Yeah, but I'll make that a separate commit. This guy's already gonna be kind of ugly as it is. Indentation. Where does this guy go? So, I need to figure out where to park this guy. Node edge. Yeah, I'm gonna put him on the graph. Yeah, I think that fits because the graph that really cares. The individual pieces don't. Indentation. These are all graphs, aren't they? Graph, 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 yeah. Oh, sorry if I'm jumping around too much. I suppose what I should do is anybody that's trying to see my project, I guess. I've already diverged quite a bit, at least the stuff I'm working on right now. But some of these files along the way are labeled like right here. So if I just do chat, just in case I was like grab the original repository or see this stuff later. So now my features, let me remove this tag. So now invoke build Pester should tell me the test that I'm missing now, right? Like I already know the entity is something I don't have tests for. At least I gotta go find those tests. But this should tell me that. Nope, there's something to fail. Entity. Okay, those are all valid. And so I saw 3 there. Well, that said 4. Did I miscount? So I have I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So looking at that, got entity inline. Install graph is set node format script. Okay. So let's start. Grab this guy first. See if I already have tests. Folder. Ooh, I do. I've got a private functions test and regression test. So take a look at this file. Private function. Well, one, set node format script isn't a private function, so that's just it's definitely in the wrong file then. I have all of these tests. Well, value, convert, whatever. Wait, where were you though? Oh, but I'm just doing the reset on it. So I actually have to create that test. Okay, what about, let's do the same thing for install graph is the inline. Let's do test for inline first. So now we're doing net new. Well, let me do a commit here, just to get these first few things in place. So we disabled help files with this one. Wait, what did I just do? Edit, undo. Why do I have 2 files? Are they not the same file? That's kind of weird. I didn't think. I do. Where are you at? Module.build. but I got a module.build here, one here. What I'm gonna do is just grab this. I think he should vanish. Close him. Close him. Close everything. I go over here to him. Paste in the change I want. Looks good there. I have two. All right, well, I'm going to commit that one. And then you can vanish. And you can vanish as well. What? So what I must have done is my case must be different between the two files. So for some reason, okay, I know what I gotta do. I know what I gotta do. So that's, I suppose I should decide what case do I want, right? Which means, let me go see what my case is in this other repository. And let's use it because I will run the same issue in the future. Fuck, I'm gonna run this issue in the future no matter what, I think. Yeah, I will. So then, what I do is I think I just delete this guy. So I'm in a really weird state. It thinks there's two files. If I delete this one, recycle bin, and then I go, they both vanish. A little bit now, maybe? I don't know. I'll come back to him. I think I'll commit the stuff. I can reset head and this guy will just vanish, I think. Remove fingerprint. This is an old way I was doing semantic versioning. Let me get him out of my project. This guy was actual corrections for help. I want to revert that change though, don't I? Let's actually change here. 1 apostrophe, 2 apostrophe. Let's do side view. I'll just experiment. I'd rather have those strings in there. Okay. So markdown help. No. All right. So now let's take this, and this. Actually, not that. Add those. Add some test files. Okay. So I think now, delete this file. I'll come back to that. So now we focus on these missing ones. Actually, no. I'm gonna clean up a little more. Let's do this unit test. There's nothing in them. I don't need them anymore. They're gone. This feature tests. They're also gone. And project, module. Help test. I think that's redundant now. So I can delete you. You're gone. Regression tests? I'll leave you for now. Okay. So, let's take here. Remove. Remove. Tests. Okay, so now let's do this inline. I think he'd be a good one to clean up or add tests for because he has a really simple function. So let's start from scratch building tests for this function. So tests, we add this guy dot test.ps1 describe. And first off, what does this guy even do? Actually, a whole lot of nothing, actually. Whatever string I put in here, he outputs it. And the reason why I use this is if I actually have should not throw inline simple string and returns the same value. Simple string inline value should be value. Tag build. Perfect. Okay, so this guy is truly there for like legacy support. If we're doing, a more complicated example as well. Let's do graph inline value. I like that better in this case. Wait, what? This, I think. There we go. So what inline is for, just if you've been in this module, that this generates a DSL for GraphViz, and I added support to do inline commands, so you can actually put in raw GraphViz dot style DSL inside my PSGraph DSL. That's what I wanted to put to support that. So raw graph equals this and should contain value. I'll just do inline dot text. This guy's gonna fail on me because You do maybe string there. I'll do I've got an array. That's my issue now, right? I've got this guy gives me an array of strings. I thought this did it. Out string. No, he doesn't, does he? Well, do this though, right? Going on the new line. But it was not found. I expected this to be found. Well, let's just. All right, so my raw graph. Inline.text. This should contain. If I run this. This string here. I want match. I think I want match, don't I? Didn't match. That was my problem. Wrong operator. Okay. So, boom. This guy is turns line value by graph. There we go. Okay, I like that. Blank space at the end, my tag is build. So I've resolved that test scenario. So let's move on to who's my next problem child? Entity. He's actually kind of a bear. But let's go for it, I guess. Doesn't have to be, I guess. Set PS1. Actually, make sure I don't have a test for it. I feel like I should, but I'm so surprised I didn't. Huh. Let's describe. Okay, so what I'm going to do, go find an old blog post I had about this, because I'm sure I've got some examples on there. Let's do PowerShell explained, tags, PSGraph, record release, entity. Perfect. Oh, I got record tests, not entity tests. That I believe. Let's get, should not throw. Let me just drop the graph here. All right, there's a nice picture on there. Entity object, entity object. Oh, I got different views. All right, well, I probably ought to add name, property. I haven't looked at this in so long. All right, so it's basic function there. Show value. Okay, show the values. So it shows values. Name person show. Ooh, so we're gonna use the same object over and over. Let's put a for all. The object here. Capitalize the O as being a object. Do first name, last name. I'll leave the age as a number. Okay. Entity. Default values. Okay. So this guy, let me preload this guy so we can look at him. So I like using, actually, I really like using my help and documented examples in my test cases. Like, that's a great way to have a good, I don't know, good synergy there. So I load this test to see what it looks like. Okay. That is ugly. Ooh, actually, though, I don't need the whole graph. Yeah, I should. Let me cut the graph out of it. I might actually have an object I can play with easily. So this guy shows me. But I almost need the graph to see him, don't I? Let's go back. All right, what am I actually looking at? When I run this, I see first, last. Okay. I'm gonna test for first, last. I'm gonna change the properties yet again. I want my strings to be a little bit more unique. Okay, so now say raw equals raw should match first name, last name, but it should also not. Oh, what happened there? Let's do. Good. Not match last name. By default, I don't show the value. Default shows types. Default view, right? And I also have, I also want expected to say strings. Match string, brackets on there, let's put the brackets on there. This is regex. I gotta remember to escape braces, brackets. And this okay. But this one In this case, should not match the string, but it should match here. Actually, I don't want this. Run this now. All right, so default view. Shows values. Okay, so what else? So I'm doing this custom name, I think. So looking at my examples as well, by default it's the object type of this name. So I need a separate test for the. Ooh, wait, I do name and value. Name is property name. Type name is name and value type. Oh, so I can do a name only, I think. Let me get a peek at this. Again. Sure, I'll just do this for a second. All right. I do just show name. Perfect. Okay. Shows types. Default view shows values. No. View value show. Default view just so happens to be default view is also the, I'm going to assume, type name, right? View show. Okay. Wait, not values, types. Not match. So yes, values show values, types show types, and then drop this. Name, right? Name, drop that extra. So that after all, yeah, okay. So show my types. Name shows only the name. In this case, we're going to say not match this and not match this. I don't know if that's triggering anybody, but go. We run this. Name parameter binding. Parameter cannot be found that matches the parameter name. Note. Notes. Not. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so now I got full coverage that shows flag. Probably should just say context show on this. These do feel like a nice grouping. And then move all 3 of these in there. So I know it might seem tedious to go through and create each one of these. But what happens is, if I ever make changes later, I'll know exactly if I broke this or not. Like, this beautifully tells me what should happen in each scenario. And it's when I make changes, I know if stuff changes on me or not. So if context show is there, the other thing I need to show is the type name. So this guy here should also say this. I should have PS custom object on this. PS custom object. And that's what is happening here with the, by default, right, we'll get this label. But I also need to make sure I test the person's label with the custom labels as well. That's where that name property comes in. So I'm going to take that and duplicate this. I'm going to say it should not match this name. And then it should match name, custom name. Name equals name. All right, so run through our tests. And now I've got full test coverage of this feature that had no tests before that. Oh. Sorry, no. I only speak English. And hopefully I'm talking loud enough, but that might not necessarily be the case. I wasn't meaning to ignore chat for so long. So, okay. But, okay, so this is a debugging for, say, name parameter. I'll just do that. Show parameter. Okay. So with that, I have. That wasn't too bad actually. I thought it was gonna be worse than it was. Actually, I thought it was a completely different command. The record one is one that was ugly to test, but I remember writing that one now. And he is something else. Okay. So before all context, it beautiful. Okay. Invoke build Pester. I think I'm gonna grab something to drink. Oh, there's my failures. Be 2 now. Set node format script and install graphics. I might have to fake it on him, but set node format script. He actually be a pretty easy one to test. Test.ps1 test describe. Just does not throw. Do I document this in my blog anywhere? I might not. No, I don't. Okay, if not there, let's go to my help. Which he doesn't help me because I don't do much with it. So let's do this then. We'll just make up an example. Okay, set node format group. Should not throw. You know what? I think what I'll do is before each, I need to run this command. I actually want a after all, run it again. Ooh, but maybe I can find somewhere else to check my tests for it. I did do something here. I already have tests for this. Okay. Format value. How do I, you know what? We'll just reuse this. Crap, except format value is internal, isn't it? That's the whole reason why, this is a good set of tests though. I want to keep this. I don't really need this one anyways. I don't need more than one. That means I remove you because I'm doing all here. I think what I actually want to do is just do an in-module scope on this. In-module scope, PSGraph, and then shove all of this inside there. And the reason why I'm doing this is that I just know this is an internal function. And the best way to test this is to call this small function to do that validation. So this here needs to be a tag build. I think run this. Okay, so that actually works. Now, the reason why, okay, so about this function, what this allows me to do is, what this set, example. So when I'm doing nodes in a graph, there are some scenarios where you might have special characters in the node name that GraphViz doesn't like. Or you actually want to say you want to normalize something. And by normalize, like maybe set everything to uppercase or lowercase for identifiers. Because GraphViz is actually case sensitive. And this is the most common one, is to use the uppercase. So I want to have a special test for that. I actually want to split this one in half. Because I feel like there's almost two different tests. It's something and it's something else, right? Okay, so it handles yes item block, like this single quote here, and then uses sure. So anyways, I set this before. I set this after anyways. At least I'm doing this afterwards, so it resets my scenario. This is like a cached command. Oh, like I see some chat here. It's like no, it can't run. So a node has an attribute of URL, and if I take a peek at that, debug. All right, so I should create a node here. Node test with an attribute of something. URL equals HTTP test.me. So the reality, so what's really happening here is when I run this command, and you can run these outside of the GraphViz engine, or the graph, it's creating just a custom string. So all GraphViz does is it concatenates strings together. In this case, I'm basically creating this attribute here with the URL. So let me take that. This is half the story, right? PSGraph builds this string. And then this string is then handed, this whole string is handed to GraphViz to do its magic. So it's the one that has added support for clickable nodes in images, but it depends on what your image output is, and there are a couple hoops to go through. So, but there's a big caveat there, is that there are a few modules out there or projects that allow you to set up a REST endpoint that when you hit it, it executes a PowerShell script. So you really could build a URL that hits a REST endpoint, and this could be something that says, computer equals, XYZ, and as a way to pass parameters to it. So if you can get something to take that input, like a PowerShell REST endpoint, you could, in a roundabout way, have nodes you can click on that would execute PowerShell scripts on some remote server. If that answers your question. Okay. With that, happy with this one. And I had one more function I needed to account for, install GraphViz. Let's go take a peek at that guy. Maybe we just mock him. I think that's what I'll do. We'll do some mocking real quick. Install GraphViz does high impact. Support should process though. Oh, beautiful. I take that back. He's gonna be easy to test. Let's just go create him real quick. Test. Let's add him dot test dot ps1, and then s describe. And boom, that's all for I'm gonna go, I think. Well, did I? Should we do some mocking maybe? Let's do this. Let's run this guy, see him pass. Not throw. So as soon as I saw this, really, that I added this should support processing true, and I spot checked that I am doing the should process. Yeah. I knew I can just call the what if and he'll skip this test block. So he's not really much of a test, is he? So what we should really do is mock this, mock this, mock that. Yeah, I don't want to mock all those. Oh, but no reason not to, I guess. All right. So mocking commands in module. Okay, in module scope. Module name. Yes, graph. Oh, I didn't want that. And we'll move all you up in here. This will be a tags. Tag. I don't know. Do not throw. All right, let's just do mock. What do I need to mock? We need to mock. Can you do everything? Suppose I should. Let's mock this. Let's mock this. Mock this. Let's mock this. Okay, so technically, all I really need to mock would be this function here and the register package and the install package, right? Because in theory, they're the only ones that are changing state, and I wouldn't have to worry about it so much, right? But my problem is now this guy here is actually giving me two different code paths. If, depending on the system this is running on, this might actually give me a false statement or a true statement because it's already been ran once. And then the scenario here is that on my local machine, I have repositories registered that are only accessible when I'm on the VPN, and stuff times out on me, right? So for me, it'd actually be easier for me to just go ahead and mock this as it would be to ourselves try to work around it. Brew install though, I'm not sure the best way to. Can I mock a command on Mac? I don't know. I'm gonna have to skip over him, I guess. So we'll take that into account. Okay, so if Mac OS X, right? So in this test, it does something. But I want to do a skip if is OS X. So that's really slick there. So if it is OS X, I'm going to skip this test because I don't want to risk running an install on somebody's machine. Okay, so mocking all the. Let's do it this way. Mock. I think it's viable. Do a. Nope. Okay, so so what I'm just trying to decide to mock here is I need to return an object with a provider name that equals chocolatey, right? So let's just actually, I want this to execute. So where not, if not. I need this to actually return nothing. So this has nothing. My not becomes true, and this executes. So in that case, this guy is valid. I don't have to return anything at all. Register package provider, package source, same story. He does not need to execute. I mean, I need him to not return anything. So find package though, my gotcha here is that I want my install package to run. So I got my pipeline needs to execute. My package needs to execute. And we're gonna have to play with this one. This one might be tricky, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. So let's do find package to return something. We will just start with true and see if that breaks. So it will install, will install package, right? If I just do graph is, and I'm going to actually do firm true. So it doesn't prompt since I have the confirm impact set so high. So people don't accidentally run this and do something damaging. So I gotta make sure I account for that. And then I think it's assert. I'm missing a command in my get command mock. Assert mock called. I think this is what I want. Command name. We want to assert this guy. It's called one time. And we also want to assert that it's all package called one time. And let's go and put these guys in single quotes because I know they're strings. And I'd much rather that more apparent. Okay, so let's go for rework. Let's see what actually happens here. Ooh, we're still calling. My confirm impact. Doesn't care that I'm calling this. What I need to do is add a switch called force. Forces. God, I really want to do this here. I feel like I'm asking for trouble doing this. I don't want to be. Yeah, so I'm trying not to add features in this commit. Yeah, I'm trying to minimize my feature changes and all around the testing, right? So what I was about to do is add a force. I mean, here's the right? Add a force means I need to add a force here, right? Force or, but I also can't. If somebody calls force with what if, I still need this to run. So I almost need a force and not what if, I think. I always forget it. This isn't as intuitive as I want it to be. So how do I get around that here? I thought my confirm, wait, I did that backwards, didn't I? False. Confirm false should do it. Hey. Okay. Parameter cannot be found that matches name, provider name. Error 0 script backtrace. Let me change this up a little bit. Let's delete that session. And I'm going to re-import my module. But I'm going to do like the dev version. If I do the dev version, I can actually see the line of the code easier and just make changes more directly. If I do invoke build import dev module, I get a dev version. And now I run the same test. Let's not save that. It tells me here at line 36. If I go here, I go to line 36. Parameter set cannot be resolved using the specified name parameters. Parameter sets. Okay, that's not that bad. Let's go take a peek at the parameter sets for this guy. So if we do get help on him. So basically, I'm returning true, and it doesn't know what parameter sets to use. And if I look on here, like, Jesus Christ, okay, so I think we can just pass it something that says install package, all versions, force, what if, confirm, additional arguments, how does it know even? Proxy. Oh, let me just do something with a name, right? Let's do install package. Just name? Perfect, it is name. And we'll just give it graph is. And we'll just tweak our parameters until we get it to work. So now, instead of this, we're going to do an object here. PS custom object. Nope. PS custom object. And then his parameters will be name equals graph is. Yeah, I like that. Let's fire that one up. Just like those bindings as well. Let's do I look at these parameters, they're all kind of like ugly. I don't know how, God, there's so many of them. Install package. Name. Source. Do I need to add source maybe? Source equals internet. I don't care what it says, just something. Right? Credentials, proxy, all versions, source. What if provider name? Yeah, well, I may do this wrong. Find package. Is what you look like. All right. I think we'll just do source this. May as well use real values since I have them in front of me now. Version this. All right, I'll see if that's enough. Jesus, what more do you want, buddy? All right. So our find package, format list star. See what else we can do. Name, version, metadata, package file name, full path, provider name. Yeah, so I think mocking is just annoying sometimes because you never know what it's actually wanting. Version scheme, version ID. Feels better. Oh, well. So I feel like I should be able to read this and figure out what it needs to do. Like, hell, we could just do this. We start doing this. Minimum version, source, I got source. Skip credentials, skip proxy, all versions, force, bootstrap, what if, confirm, provider name. I got provider name. Programs, tranquility, provider name. So I ran into a roadblock here where I don't know. Okay, you know what? Let's back up a little bit then. Let's cheat even more and just call find package with nothing. And just know that it called find package once. Because I'm not really testing the install package. Well, darn it. What I'll do. Well, this guy pending. Oh, I can't do that either. Oh, because the parameter, God, that's annoying. So, even better yet, we'll just call this guy good for now. I'm happy with him not throwing on the what if. I was going to do that originally because this guy is a pretty heavy-handed. Like, it's hard to test infrastructure stuff that modifies the system cleanly. Since I did the work to find these guys, I'll leave them in this file. I decided to pick this back up in the future. So now, if I do a invoke build Pester, do we have 100% test coverage now? Wait, I didn't break this, did I? Back? Let me undo those changes. I forgot about that. Okay, let me just kill this session. I do that quite often, like with modules, especially with modules. Especially if they have classes. I'm very quick to reload a session. Invoke, build, import dev module from Pester. So the dev module flag there, it goes into my project and it imports the file that's sitting, and close all these. I got a very common folder structure, right? And my module itself sits inside the folder of the same name. So if I say import dev module, it imports this PSD and PSM1. Whereas if I do a full build, it actually does some manipulation and would then import the PSD1 of the actual final build. So waiting on this, some features of this pipeline that I've built, like it drops in the license file in the output now. It didn't used to do that. Ooh, hey, we have passed all these tests. So what I'm gonna do right now is take a quick peek at my changes. So this is a new file, white space, I'll leave that in here, and new file. So let's add tests. Or missing. All right, let's add missing tests. Missing test. Okay, and that's all of these guys. Yeah. Check that in. Ooh, let's check code coverage. That's one thing I don't turn on by default. I always got to do that as a separate step. Wherever he is, right here. Let's just set this guy to 100% and see what fails. Oh yeah, so not only does it honor them, it actually, I think they basically create like a proxy command of some kind and actually end up fully cloning the parameters. So if you have like parameter set type issues, or the biggest problem is when, oh, can I not do that? I thought I could do that. I'll start over here. So the biggest issue is when you use like classes in your parameters, especially internal classes to your module. it almost makes them impossible to mock. I mean, if you do like anything that's testing for the actual class type, and the class type is internal to your function, it could be really, or somebody else's function, it'd be really hard for somebody else to mock it. Oh, I gotta run this one line out of my debug. All right, so let's run invoke build. So I always have, just out of habit, a debug file in all my modules, but I exclude it via the git ignore so that I can do whatever hacky stuff I want in there, and it never gets committed or pushed. Yeah, like right out of the gate, I can do multiple debugger temp files. I also exclude my output so that all the stuff that's happening here doesn't get memory. My code coverage has been flaky sometimes. Like, so I got this parameter here that when I turn that on, the code coverage should, actually it'll probably work this time. But it just has this parameter in this file that when I set it, it's going to try to pin the code coverage to at least that, or it fails the release. So when I look at this guy now, we have 70% test coverage on this guy. So export PSGraph. Okay, I expect this guy to be a problem. And maybe I can work on mocking and doing some tests on him, but I skipped the test for the export. Mostly because, maybe I just need a what if on that guy. I'll think about that. My scenario with this guy is he requires the full GraphViz engine. And honestly, he's like 60 some megs or something. And I didn't want to worry about bootstrapping the build agent to make sure he had it. So all my tests run without ever actually calling GraphViz. I got lots of exception handling in here. So I think that's a beautiful point to wait, what was my coverage? 70? 70.4. What I do in this case now, my code, currently at 70. I got a lot of lines here, so I will probably set this guy here to like 61. My code coverage falls below 61%, I'm going to fail the release. That might not be 10% is 40 lines. That's a function. Yeah, so if I add a function to this, that's at least 40 lines long. This will probably drop by 10%. And my code coverage will now catch that and also require me to add test. So I have lots of checks and balances here. I don't know which one, which file. Okay, so let's add this file. Add this file. My builds out of bump when I run my builds. Actually, let's see what I got together right now. Find module PSGraph. I always that repository gallery. So 2.1.37. So I've done some builds without bumping my source files, or I've done some releases without bumping my source files. But when I ran my local builds tonight, it recognized that and it bumped the version for me to just put it ahead of where it was. That's part of my automatic semantic versioning logic, which I need to do a new post on that. Okay, so let's do this here. I think Helpify. I don't really care about help that much right now. I mean, I got the comment-based help works, but I've been trying to use Platy PS to do more, but I haven't really started using it. So, final build. Okay, so now let's push and look at this pull request. PR is just a command that I have that creates pull requests for me. Add common files to the project. Okay. Now, let's take a peek at all these changes, right? Actually, so we merged in the common files, added, resolved any tests, any Pester issues, and other corrections. Okay, so now let's take a peek at what we actually changed tonight, right? So, like I said, at the very beginning of this, I merged in a whole bunch of code from a common repository of mine. So it's going to look like an insane amount of changes. In fact, if I look, I mean, I got some stuff going back quite a while. Like I've actually never, this is actually my initial merge into this repository. So if I look at my files changed, I've got my git ignore file, which I've got much better coverage for things, which maybe doesn't matter. I got some common VS Code settings we're pulling in now. My VS Code tasks. I forgot I had these tasks in there. I got custom tasks now. Quite a bit of those. Build tasks. So these build tasks is, I broke up my monolithic build script into smaller scripts. So analyze is for like script analyzer. That runs. I build the manifest, which he is pretty much copying it from. I'm copying it from my source and then setting the module functions. I don't have to update my module functions on their own anymore, like my functions to export. The build module task himself, this guy's quite complex. I've got a big function inside here that moves statements to the top of my PSM1. For instance, so during my build, I concatenate every one of my files together. And if I have using statements in the middle of it, or require statements in the middle of it, it breaks it. So I had this logic, or this logic is in here that will call a move statement that basically loads those statements to the top. Kind of ugly sitting in here. I'm hoping to refactor him out. Then the actual build, the first thing I do is I add a PS module root to all my modules. So if I crack this guy open here and look at my output of here, PSGraph, PSM1, I inject this variable. This way, I always have a way to reference the root of my module. Here it is, I suppose always PSGraph root here. And then I have the same one in, I don't yet, I need to add it. Let me just go ahead and add that guy. Go copy, I place him in here as well. So, and the reason why I do that is so that my functions, if I need to reference something in like a data folder, in source, my public functions are in a different depth into the module than they are when I'm sitting somewhere else, right? So my public function sits here. I got to go up a folder to get to data. But in my output, my compiled module, it's actually sitting in the PSM1 to get to data. So a hack or cheat I do is I inject this PS module root script variable, I fake it, I guess, and I just reference that when I need to reference those files. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and add that in now. Actually, I take that back. Let me go grab, I've got another one somewhere else. Let's do cd PSGraph plus cd get content PSGraph plus it's not him either. Let's do cd ldx. I've got a newer PSM1 importer. The app settings, get content. This guy. Setting. So I actually want to use this guy's PSM1 file. Let me copy him over here and I'll just walk through him real quick. So PSGraph, PSM1. So I'm going from the simple loader that's doing almost nothing here to the simple complicated. So I mean, here's the issue I fight, right? My stuff has been working beautifully, but I've added a lot of features in here, and as I'm touching new modules, I add all those features into this PSM1 loader, so that in the future, if I add more advanced stuff to this module, it just works. I find myself adding things that I think will just work, and they don't, right? So now, so here's my module root, warnings that this is just a dev module. I have built into it, my favorite part is a custom class loader. So while I have no classes in this project now, this will walk the classes in a nice consistent, it'll walk all the classes, it'll find, do I still need to do that? Base class. It finds all the classes and all the references. Then it builds a special import order that figures out what classes depend on what other classes. And then it imports them via dot sourcing them. And then it goes on and imports everything else. What I like about this is this allows me to dot source the files and treat them just like my functions. So I can step into them, debug into them, and make edits and changes and save it. Whereas the other way I was doing was I was concatenating them all and loading them in memory, which made debugging them a little bit more of an annoyance. But all right, let's invoke my build again. Invoke build just to see. Make sure this loader actually works for this module, but it should. Public, private, those are pretty common names. Okay, so what else can I glean from staring at this stuff? So this is the same class analysis, and this ensures that if I do add classes, everything gets imported the same way that my build is doing. Clean purges all my files. File, if I add a binary class or module. Copying random files. Generate help stuff. More generate help. The import dev module, which is pretty much calling a import module from the source, the PSD1, versus just importing the module from the output folder. The install task, so I can actually do a invoke build install from here. Invoke build install. He's gonna like toss him on my local system. So this lets me do like integration testing to where I can fire up, I can load up my system and see how it works with other modules, or beta test it locally before I decide to finally publish and push. Invoke build init. This is basically loading some variables that get used quite a bit, like docs paths, outputs, source locations. Pester tests. So when I'm calling invoke build Pester, I'm basically calling Pester with these parameters. And if I happen to have a required %, I'm adding the code coverage. And then I got a little bit of logic here to just one, identify if there were errors and fail the build, or verify the code coverage and fail the build. So I could have been just calling invoke Pester with the tag of build for the most part, but I like executing the same tests the same way that the build system would run them. The actual publish of the module. So once I check it in, it has to be in a build system. In this case, it'll be, well, it's either gonna be AppVoyeur or Azure DevOps. I can't remember which one this one's on. I might have moved them over already. It has to be on the master branch, and there has to be a NuGet API key. So I probably should just commit this and push it. Publishing version. Some versioning stuff for TFS. Setting the version is where I'm doing my clever stuff of going out to the gallery, downloading the module, checking the differences, and then bumping the versions based off of that stuff. Uninstall will remove the module off my system. Update source just moves some things back in the source after the build, like PSD1 that has the new version number. The license we just updated. This guy orchestrates the whole build, including dot sourcing somewhere. Yeah, where it's dot sourcing tasks. Yeah, so a lot of stuff in here. Actually, let's push in these last two changes here. Right here. I'll say update module loader. All right, so let's do a git push. And then pull request. And now we let Azure DevOps. So we'll see if it runs this stuff. Do I have that file in here? Pipelines. You know what? We're going to see if this is PowerShell core compatible in my build. maybe I should fire that off locally real fast. CD workspace, CD PSGraph, go build clean defaults. I've got one verb node that's a conflict in a couple spots that I always have to be aware of. So that's the thing. All right, well, I've kind of reached, I suppose I've accomplished everything I really wanted to accomplish tonight. I think now might be a good time to basically wrap the stream up. I suppose thank you guys for joining me. I think it's probably late enough. I should probably go to bed. So yeah, I'm gonna call it here. Anyways, guys, yeah, thanks for joining me. And I'll get this published on GitHub since we made no code changes. I feel pretty good about, although it's gonna bump my version, nothing's actually changed for my end users.